Most Dragon Ball fans have long accepted that Super Buu is the strongest version of Majin Buu. But unfortunately, there are still some fans out there who are Kid Buu stans that will defend Kid Buu till the very end. But in today's video, we will give not only the older, more complex arguments, but give a much newer, simpler argument that pretty much nobody else uses. Now, the easiest way to directly prove that Kid Buu is not stronger than Super Buu is to look at a more recent statement that Qaaman issued over the last few years, where he essentially said that the strongest form that he evaluates of Majin Buu would have been Buu in his Buuhan mixed with Gohan state. Now, obviously, that's what a lot of Dragon Ball fans were thinking for many years, so the easiest piece of proof is to look at what one of the most prominent screenwriters of the show actually thought, and a screenwriter that was so influential over the series that Toriyama essentially morphed the entire Android arc's direction because he respected what Koyama essentially said, as I explained in previous videos. Now, apart from Koyama directly stating it, you also have the Buuhan Buu argument, where essentially, when you look at how powerful Gotenks is and how strong Mystic or Ultimate or potential unlocked Gohan is with the Elder Kai's ability, and you look at how powerful they are as individual characters, and you essentially just do addition and say that individually, if you combine those characters, even though Gotenks eventually diffused, that's a very simple argument to prove that they're obviously stronger than Kid Buu, because when you combine all of those powerful characters together, then we also have the old classic argument of Goku and Vegeta feeling a lot more confident. Essentially, when you look at the fact that the entire universe was at stake, and the fact that Goku and Vegeta were willing to take a risk after they had already destroyed the Potara earrings while inside Majin Buu's body, when faced against Kid Buu, when planet Earth was already completely eviscerated, they basically went directly into their Saiyan pride and used absolutely no logic and crushed the Potara earrings. Now, think about this. If Goku and Vegeta would crush the Potara earrings, that means that from their evaluation, they clearly felt that Kid Buu was not as powerful as he was before, which directly meant that they felt that they could fight him individually. Now, ultimately, they still had to come up with an extreme method to ultimately defeat him in the Spirit Bomb, but it does prove that because of their change in behavior, whereas compared to how powerful Buu was in his Super Buu state, that change in behavior would clearly indicate that there was a reduction in Kid Buu's power. Now, all of this is basically to give you some of the complex arguments that Dragon Ball fans used to make when trying to prove that Kid Buu is not the most powerful. And I just gave you essentially 3 big ones, but there's a lot more that power scalers in the comment section below are going to give you to essentially give you Dragon Ball calculus on who's the most powerful Majin Buu. But let's now use a simple argument that you can use to debunk any Kid Buu stan whenever necessary. And essentially what happened is that when Goku came back to Earth after Gohan was struggling against what we call Buu tanks, Goku realized that Gohan couldn't stop Buu individually, so he threw a Potara earring. Now, Gohan missed the Potara earring and was looking forward, and in the meantime of all of this happening, Buu tanks was rushing towards Goku and was briefly fighting him in the anime adaptation. Now, in the manga, they never really actually fought. Buu tanks really just charged towards Goku, and then essentially diffused back into what we call Buu Piccolo, because at that point, Piccolo was the most dominant individual character inside Buu's body, which is why his clothes changed to that. And at that particular point, Goku then says and makes a quick quote that Gohan can now handle Buu Piccolo by himself because his power level dropped by about a third. Now, this argument isn't about comparing Gohan's power to Goku's power and saying that, well, if Goku says Gohan can now handle Buu, then that means Gohan's stronger than Goku. And if Gohan's stronger than Goku, that means Gohan was fighting against a stronger opponent than Kid Buu, which ultimately proves that Super Buu is more powerful, even though that's completely true. I'm not going to use that argument. I'm simply going to use the argument that if you look at the way that Goku was fighting, specifically in terms of his fighting style, he was fighting purely defensively, because he knew that as an individual, he stood absolutely no chance against Buuhan at all. But if you were to make a direct comparison with how Goku fought against Kid Buu, where they were fighting head-to-head, and when you also consider the fact that Goku felt confident that he could have stopped Kid Buu by himself in Super Saiyan 3 if he went all out from the very beginning, this statement alone gives you a general idea that Goku's power is relative to Kid Buu's, but his power is nowhere near that of Super Buu's, and with all of that said, this is a much simpler argument to prove that Kid Buu is not stronger than Super Buu.